Hey guys, I just wanted to talk about this assignment really quickly. So there are two parts to this. There's a multiple choice part, and then at the bottom you guys are going to create your combustion reactions and then balance them. So for 1 through 9, all of the answers to these questions can be found directly in today's lesson. So in your slides, in your lesson video, they are all there. All you have to do for this is highlight your answer. So for example, number 1 says combustion reactions must have blank as a reactant. So we learned in today's lesson that all combustion reactions have a fuel source with the hydrocarbons plus oxygen gas will yield CO2 plus H2O or CO plus H2O, depending on if it's complete or incomplete. So the answer here is going to be oxygen gas. That is the answer to number 1. And for all of these, you guys are just going to highlight it using this little highlighter function. I don't care what color you use, it is your prerogative. Just make sure your answers are highlighted so I can see them. So that's 1 through 9. That should take you no more than, I would say, 10 minutes, right? Because everything is right in your slides. So that's 1 through 9. For 10 through 12, you are going to write out the combustion reactions and you are going to balance them, okay? So you might be looking at it and say, well, where are the reactions? Because these are all word problems. Well, remember, we know all the reactants and the products of combustion reactions because we know what goes in and what comes out. So for example, we'll do 10 together and then you guys will do 11 and 12 on your own. So 10 says ethanol can be used in an alcohol lamp. The formula for ethanol is C2H5OH. Write the balanced equation for the complete combustion of ethanol. Okay, so let's write out our equation and then let's balance. So we have C2H5OH plus, we know that it's O2 because oxygen gas always goes in on the left-hand side in a combustion reaction. And remember, oxygen is always diatomic, so it's at least always O2. Now, we need a little arrow, so we'll go to Insert, Special Characters, and they have arrows here, so you can just put in a right arrow. And then, because it says it's complete combustion, we know that a complete combustion reaction has CO2 plus H2O. Water is always a product. In complete combustion, CO2 is always a product. Now, you guys will do one complete, and if you notice number 12 says incomplete, remember when you do number 12, if it's incomplete, it won't be CO2, it'll just be CO. Okay? So now, we've gotten our equation written, we just have to balance it. And remember, for combustion reactions, we always balance C, H, and then O. I'm going to write mine here below, but you guys could always do this on a separate sheet of paper, however you feel comfortable doing it. Okay, so let's start. We've got 2 carbons. We have 5, 6, 7, or, no, sorry, 5, 6 hydrogens. I've been working all day. My eyes are playing tricks on me. And then we have 1, 2, 3 oxygens. Okay. So then let's look on this side. We've got 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens, 3 oxygen. Okay. So now let's go ahead and balance our carbons first because that's what we want to start with. So we have 2 on the left. We want 2 on the right. So I'll put a 2 coefficient in front of my CO2. And remember, we always want to work as we go. So since I put that coefficient there, my carbons now become 2. My oxygens are now 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so we've got 2, 2, then we've got 5. Now, on my left-hand side, let's do hydrogen. On my left-hand side, we have 6 hydrogen, because this is H5, and then an H here. So 5 plus 1 was that 6. So now, we need to figure out how we can get to 6 hydrogens on my right-hand side. And I can do that by putting a 3 here as my coefficient, because 3 times 2 will give me 6. Now, we have 6 hydrogens, but now we have how many oxygens? So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Okay, now we have 7 oxygens. So since we have 7 oxygens, we need to come over here and figure out how are we going to balance our oxygens, right? Because we have 7 now on the right, but we need to get it to balance on the left. So we have C2H5OH plus O2, but what we have to remember is that we do have these oxygens here, or this one oxygen here in this compound. Okay, so anytime we're balancing on this side, we can have an even number plus 1 to give us what we want. So what I mean by that is we want 7 oxygen on this side, and this makes it a little more complicated because we have this guy here. So I'm going to go ahead and say we want 7, right? We want 7 oxygen, and I know that a 3 here will give me 6 oxygen, plus the 1 will give me 7, okay? And that's just a little bit trickier. That's just, you have to kind of pay attention when there are multiple of the same atom in the different compounds on the left-hand side. You have to just pay attention and make sure you're keeping them added up the entire time. But here we have a balanced equation. We've got 2 carbon, 6 hydrogen, okay, so the H5 and the H, so 5 and 1 makes 6 on the left-hand side. 3 plus 2 makes 6 on the right-hand side. And we have our 7 oxygen. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 1 oxygen is 7, and then 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So that is your balanced equation. So again, the tricky part for these is that if you have an extra oxygen in the fuel source, which is possible, it can be a little tricky to keep up with them added on the left-hand side. But the examples I have for you guys that you're going to complete, you don't have an oxygen in your fuel source. So if you guys take a look at 11 and 12, these are just carbon and hydrogen. So these are both just pure hydrocarbons that you have to deal with, okay? So again, pretty simple. Just remember that oxygen always goes in on the left, and then CO or CO2 and water comes out on the right, depending on if it's complete or incomplete. Remember to balance your carbons first, then your hydrogens. If you get to the end and can't balance your oxygen, remember you want to double all your coefficients and start again. So go ahead and answer those multiple choice and then try 11 and 12 on your own. If you have any questions, let me know.